Hey guys, happy Saturday to you. Hope everybody is staying warm and dry. We are cold and wet here in the Midwest. Hey
Cold and
Krista, how you
snowy.
doing? Cold and
I'm good.
snowy.
I'm good.
And,
I haven't went anywhere today because of the snow. So
oh, and I had to be at work and I've been cold all day. It's like right around 30, so it's not terrible, but I just had this weird just cold all day. And I get home, I put a hoodie on. We had a meeting about our conference, which we're going to talk about here in a few seconds. And I'm sitting in here and I'm just sweating like crazy. So I ran and changed, put a shirt on.
there you go.
Yeah. So
I'm fortunate. I didn't have to go anywhere today. So I sat here and watched it come down. And we ended up with about, 3.5 inches or something.
yeah. So you're about 45 minutes northwest of me ish.
Mm-hmm.
And you got 3 inches. I maybe have an inch down here.
Wow.
But I haven't checked since I've been home for about 2 hours, but it was coming down pretty good. So, I don't know. And it's right around 33 degrees right now. So
yeah, kind of on that line.
Yeah. So,
Awesome.
But anyway, guys, before we have a great show tonight, we have Brent Thomas from the Paranormal Portal waiting backstage. But first, let's talk about this Crossing Realms Conference. So tickets go on sale at midnight tonight, December 1st. Get your tickets. They are $35 online. The conference is September 19th and 20th of next year. I don't have. Do you have the list of speakers? I don't have the list. It's going to be in Richmond, Missouri, at the Eagleton Civic Center, which is right next to Ray County Museum, and we're going to have a celebrity ghost hunt there after the conference. Yep. And Krista, who do we have speaking?
So we have Greg Ogles. We have Haunted Souls and Haunted Garage. They're the ones with the haunted cars, and they are bringing a haunted car. We have Ron Murphy and Lady Anne Celine, Dr. Dean Bertram, William Lunsford, Heather Mosier, Josh Hurd. We have Chris Jordan is our tech guy and featured podcaster. Special guests include Ken Gerhard, Dana Stricker, and I'll let you announce the last one that we just got.
Special guest.
Yeah.
Brent Thomas.
Yay!
And how ironic we have Brent Thomas on the show tonight.
Yeah, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there too. That'll be a blast.
It's gonna be a good time.
Yeah,
a good time for sure.
Meeting a lot of great people.
Absolutely. Actually, you named several that are on there that I've always been meaning to meet, but just have never crossed path with. Awesome. Ken and Ann are wonderful. I've known them for a while, and wonderful people.
Yep.
But it'll be neat to meet Heather as well. Yeah.
Heather, she's awesome. She is awesome. We were fortunate and met her. Where did I meet her? Oh, it was Gatlinburg Conference for the first time. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Wonderful.
And actually, I'll have Heather Mosier on next Saturday. Heather will be on here. So
very cool.
Little preview.
Yeah.
Actually, we're doing each week so far. We're doing a little preview of who's going to be at the conference. We had Will Lunsford on last week, Brent, and then Heather. Wow.
Yeah. Go figure.
Yeah.
I'm kind of spreading like a rash over all of your guys' shows slowly. I'm like,
we haven't had you on Blonde yet, so
no, I know. I was thinking that
you're on Paranormal Paul tonight, so maybe we'll set up something for like February or something, maybe. So it's just not bad.
I'll be there.
Cool.
Awesome. And guys, make sure you check out Paranormal Portal. He's on. Let's see. Let me see if I get this right. Friday night, Saturday night, and Wednesday night.
Man, absolutely.
But don't look for him on Thursday night.
Do not. No.
That was a joke in one of the chats that last week I think you had.
I gotcha. Yeah, I do. I also do a podcast, which is out on all the platforms. So same name. You can go youtube.com/paranormal portal. Catch my live streams. I'll be doing one at 7 tonight Pacific, 9 Central. So that'll be live. But the podcasts that I do are all pre-recorded interviews with different people from all walks of life, whether they're people of the communities, experiencers themselves, authors, researchers, and celebrity guests. So had the whole spectrum on there, and it's just an amazing experience. So those are different ways you can find me. If you're interested, just go to paranormalportal.net.
Go check him out. It's a great show. He does a great job over there. And you read like the news and stuff, paranormal news, and you have really catchy music. Where'd you get that music?
That's everything you hear on my shows is stuff I've written. So
really,
those are my songs. Yep. I write music, and I've been in bands for years and years and years. So I just, when I started doing shows, I used to play music I love, like anything I could think of, like, oh, I love this song. Let's just open with this. But then I got into, the YouTube world, and YouTube decided to start, slapping people stupid with, copyright claims. Oh, thank you, Mickey. And I thought, well, I write music, and it wasn't like a vanity thing for me. It was just, I want music on the show. Maybe I'll just use mine. I know I can use that. So I started doing it, and people have been very gracious about it. So it was never like an ego thing, like, listen to me. It was just necessity. You can only do what you got. So yeah, those are all my songs.
I used something from the YouTube audio library one time, and I think they flagged me on it. I'm like, how could that be? It's from your own library. Yeah. I don't know. It
just gets confusing. So I just figure, well, I'll use things I know I can use because I wrote them. So
yeah,
there you go. But thank you. I appreciate that compliment. That's very nice.
Sure. I like dancing to it when it comes on.
Appreciate that. The only thing I didn't that you hear on the live shows that I didn't write is the news transition, that transition that goes into the Paranormal Portal news, and that was something Wes found. Wes made that whole transition for me. So yeah, I don't know where he found that, but I think he went back to the 70s and dug that one up. So
yeah. Wow. Yeah, I know I use Final Cut Pro to edit my stuff, and I know they have a lot of already established effects like that, like intros and stuff like that. And I mean, that could be something like that. Whatever program he uses to edit could have something like that on there.
Yeah.
Because it looks really cool, but I mean, it says news and stuff on it, so it's nothing.
It's a template of some kind.
Yeah, template of something. That's what I was trying to say. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You guys have a good Thanksgiving?
I did.
Yeah. I did. It's a moral imperative that you eat until you're stupid, and I managed both. So yeah.
I did that today when I got home. Again.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving 2.0.
Yeah.
It's the gift that keeps giving for several days after. So
yeah.
It's like, what's for dinner? Guess what? Leftovers.
Turkey.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. A couple more days, but then I'm done with it. So
see, we didn't have any of that. Like the girls, like I said earlier, before the show started, they had some dessert left over from there, but that was it. We went to my brother's, so he kept all the leftovers, which is fine. We had tacos tonight, so.
Well, you can't go wrong with tacos,
right?
Not Tuesday, Taco Tuesday.
Oh,
Tuesday.
Yeah.
No.
So Brent, you've been at this for a little while. How and why did you jump into this paranormal world?
I never had fancied myself doing a show. I've always loved this stuff, though. I've always loved the unknown, the mysterious, the big mysteries that still remain in our world. I love the whole concept of that because I can't think of anything more mundane and irritating than to live in a world where everything is just labeled and categorized and it's on a shelf in some lab somewhere, So, and I love the fact that this weird stuff happens and it still shows us we're surrounded by mysteries. We're surrounded by magic and wonder. And that's what this stuff represents to me. So I love that. And I was one of those really late bloomers in life. Like I grew up with people that knew from a very young age, look, I want to be, in a minister in the church or a priest or something. I knew one guy that from a very young age, he knew you want to be a priest. and he and I were tight like brothers, and I was always jealous of that because it's like, what do I want to do? And I never knew. And it wasn't until I was working doing advertising with a company that's up here in the north of Idaho, and one of the guys that contracted for the company, thank you, bad boy. One of the guys that contracted doing some web development stuff for back end web development. His name is Chris Gio, and he had founded Truth Frequency Radio, and he and I got to be friends and talking. And then one day it just dawned on me, I want to do a show. And it was so funny because as soon as I said that, like that idea came out of my lips, it was like all of a sudden this whole idea just filled my head. I want it to be called Paranormal Portal. I want it to be like this and like this and like this. And I talked to them. He's like, cool, let's do it. So in 2016, I think it was April of 2016, I started the Paranormal Portal on Truth Frequency Radio, which is internet radio. And then in 2017, I branched over to YouTube, and I've been doing YouTube since then. And then in 2019, I started the podcast because somehow or another, and I don't know how, even to this day, Wes Germer stumbled onto my show and ended up calling in. I had live call in, and he came, which to me was awesome because I'd been burning my life away in cubicles listening to Sasquatch Chronicles forever. Right. So I was like, oh my God, it's Wes Germer. So I was in this cool moment. And then we had a great discussion. And then after the show, he messaged me on Facebook and said, hey, that was a lot of fun. I was like, oh man, thanks for calling in. That was so cool. He goes, why isn't this a podcast? And I was like, I don't know. He said, well, it should be. And I was like, okay. And so Wes became a mentor to me and helped me to establish myself in the podcast world. So
very cool.
Awesome.
That's how it all came to be. Yeah.
Yeah. Can't beat that.
No, it was just a whole, it was funny because, like I said, I've just been stumbling through life. I've done so many different jobs, and I loved all those jobs very much through the years, but they just never felt like I was doing what I wanted to do until I started doing this. And it's like, I'm home. I found where I belong. I found my passion. And it's literally once you find what you want to do, you'll never work a day in your life. And that's literally,
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, we all burn a lot of hours doing this stuff, but it doesn't feel like work. It's like, I can't wait for the next show. I can't wait for the next guest or the next topic or whatever. It's so cool to finally find that lane that I belonged in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you learn so much doing this stuff, with talking to, learn so much and meet so many really cool, interesting people along the way too.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So it's just it's a neat thing, but it was like, I didn't ever envision myself doing this, but now that I'm doing it, it's like, I can't imagine not doing it. And it doesn't matter how big it gets or how big it is or it gets. It's just, I'm where I belong. I found my home.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah. Thank you. I can totally relate to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You had mentioned on one of your shows a couple weeks ago that you have recently been scratched in your home. Yeah. Did you ever figure out anything about that? And can you explain a little about how that came about?
Okay, so it was about 3 weeks ago now, I guess. I think I'm terrible with time, so I'm in this perpetual today, so it's like, how long was it ago? I think it's 3 weeks ago though. It was on a Monday, and I was doing back-to-back interviews for the podcast. And I did one with Tommy Cullum and one with Matt Knapp of Bigfoot Crossroads. Well, I was talking to Tommy, and he and I were just before we were recording or after, I don't remember which, but we were talking about weird stuff that goes on, because it seems like by virtue of doing these kind of shows where you talk about the strange and unusual, the strange and unusual finds you. I mean, I don't know what that is, and I've even had listeners email me and go, yeah, I never had activity before, but I started listening to your show, and now a picture keeps popping off my wall and other strangeness. And it's like, yeah, sorry. I don't know why that is, but it happens. But it's kind of a long story, so forgive me, but I'm going to kind of go through it all. When we moved into this house, which was long before I started doing a show, we've had weird things happen a bunch. And I've lived in several other haunted houses, for a large majority of my adult life. So it doesn't really like freak me out like maybe it should. I don't
Mhm.
know. It's maybe by virtue of being around it for so long, it's just kind of like, oh, that's just the other things that are around. But I was talking to Tommy about things in this house, and I was telling him the story about how weird things would always happen here. And then one day I ended up interviewing the neighbor's daughter, who was, you know, an adult woman from Portland. Well, she was visiting, but she's a practicing witch and a wonderful, wonderful person. And so she came over here. Well, she grew up in the house next door to this house. And when she sat here in the studio, she's like, well, how do you like living here? And I'm like, oh, I said, it's great, but there's some weird things happen here. That's for sure. And she goes, well, you know what happened here, right? And I was like, no. And she went on to tell me, and it's a tragic, sad story. But it turns out that as she was growing up in high school, middle school age, there was a boy that lived in this house who was like 14 years old, suffering obviously with some depression and issues like that. Well, he ended up, you know, unaliving himself upstairs in this house. Well, suddenly it created a new understanding to me. Like I could look at all this weirdness with more compassion and, you know, think, well, it could just be a poor tortured soul that's just in this, you know, in this place. And so, you know, to me, it really helped, and it really did settle things down. But I think by virtue of me talking about it, I might have upset something, because as I was sitting here, suddenly I was talking to Tommy. I'm like, it got really cold next to me, like ice cold. Like I was just in a freezer suddenly. I'm like, oh, there's something really cold here. I don't know. Someone must be moving through. And we got to talking. And then all of a sudden I felt like warmth on my neck, and I reach up and I touch my neck, and I feel a raised welt that goes from the back of my neck all the way to my jaw over here by my ear. And I'm like, I'm running my finger over there going, oh my God, well, that's crazy. That's never happened to me before. Yeah. So I went to my wife and I said, hey, what's going on with my neck? It seems like I got scratched. And she looks at it, and then she's like, oh. And she pulls down my collar, and all along my neck here, I got these X's and scratches, like, you know, something just raked it. Now, I never felt that happening other than the warm sensation. And after it happened, after I was aware of it, I had her take pictures of it. I put them on Facebook. If you want, I can dig them up so you guys could see them. But it was after a little bit later, it started to feel like little mini rope burns, you know, like a little mini rope burn sensation on every one of those scratches, but never felt it happening other than that cold and then the warmth. So,
you know, my philosophy on that, I mean, everybody automatically jumps like, oh, it's something negative. You know, I don't always feel that way, because what if, you know, like Paul, he got scratched at the museum, and I don't know, he's like, same thing. He didn't feel it. I almost feel like it's their way of just trying to get your attention. They didn't mean to maybe hurt you, you know, or scratch you, you know, to that extent, you know. Right. I mean, there are some vicious ones out there, don't get me wrong, that are negative, but like, you know, I don't, you know, you said it, you know, as a 14-year-old child, you know, and, you know, I don't really see him trying to be mean. You know what I'm saying? Yes.
Oh, I do. I agree completely. I never felt it was scary to me. I was just like, oh wow, that really happened. So I'm gonna share my screen now and show you what it was that I found on my. This is the picture that my wife took as she discovered them, and you can't see the one that's the higher one, the long one from the back of my neck, because my hand is blocking it. I got it zoomed in here, but let me just show you this. And is it sharing? Okay, here we go. So there's the actual screen.
Hang on. You got it? Okay.
That's my neck.
Wow.
Yeah. And I got a whole bunch of comments on that, because I posted on Facebook. I'm like, hey, you'll never guess what happened. And this is my first time ever experiencing scratches like this. And the first question I got in the comments was, do you have a cat? It's like,
it almost looks like,
yeah. And the thing is I do have two cats, but they are the most loving, gentle cats. And if I had a cat that scratched me like this, I wouldn't have a cat.
Yeah. And plus, a cat scratch you're going to feel.
Right. Yeah, you'll know exactly when you're getting it. And believe me, one of the
yeah.
cats fell off of my table and grabbed onto my leg on its way down and dragged some trenches into my leg. And I felt it right away. This I didn't feel, but that's
Wow.
what appeared. And it took a good week and a half to totally heal up. But they were that was when they were brand new. And you can see, like, it almost, I had people going, well, is that Roman numerals? Is it this or that? And I've had lots of theories of what it could represent. I don't know,
Yeah.
But that's the scratches. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Actually, go back, put that back up for a second.
Sure. No, I'm not real
Please,
quick
I'm sorry.
No. It's fine.
Because I just noticed on it that there was 3 identical lines.
Okay, I've shared it now. Yeah, and somebody talked about the 3s, being a mockery of the Trinity, that kind of thing, and I don't know, all that
I
stuff
don't
is
see anything like that though. I really
I can't highlight it. So you have the 2 that are kind of going diagonal down further. So 1, go down below that 2, and then below that one there's a 3rd one.
Yep. And this is actually like 2 almost joined together into one. So, but it definitely shows one direction, one swipe, and then potentially a second swipe. But this one seems kind of independent. It doesn't seem to have a partner. So maybe with this one and this one, and then this one. So it's possible these 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So
wow, that's crazy.
It was pretty significant. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow.
Well, that's pretty. And you never had that happen before in that house.
Well, see, the thing is I've woken up with scratches on me, but I've never had any presence of mind to go, well, that's definitely paranormal. Because when you wake, you don't know what you're doing in your sleep or what's happening to you, and so you wake up. I might have had a sharp toenail or something and scratched my leg, or a weird fingernail thing. I don't know. I mean, you know what I mean? You can't be sure, but this is the first time I can say, look, I felt when it was happening, I felt that heat, and then I had the physical proof with raised welts. So I know exactly when this occurred, but the other times I don't know. I can't be sure, and I certainly can't make that claim.
Wow.
Yeah,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Krista.
I was just going to say, I think it's kind of cool, but yet it is, but it isn't, Sorry you got scratched, but.
Honestly, after I realized what it was, I started laughing, and that's hand to God. I'm not trying to act like I'm so brave or anything like that. It's just, I thought, wow, that's cool. I've actually been scratched. There might be something wrong with me, is all I can say.
T-Bone, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, my friend.
T-Bone. Oh, yeah. I've gotten a lot of, we share a lot of audience, don't we?
We do. We do.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And it's pretty cool seeing a bunch of people that are in our chats over on yours, and it shows that we have really good audience, and everybody, they travel really well, and they are just amazing people, and
they
sure are.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's been the really coolest part of doing these shows, not only getting a chance to talk with you guys about this stuff, but also to become familiar with your audiences and see them come over. It's like, wow, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
I can't think of a bigger compliment when they go, oh, well, Paranormal Portal's on. Let's go check that out. I mean, that's so cool,
And it's really super neat getting to meet some of the people that you see in chat all the time. I mean, last time we were at Ray County, we met Mickey G, and we've met Pancho. Or you've had Pancho on the show before, Krista, on your show. And what happened there?
I don't know. You're still here, though.
It's still here. Everybody's here. But it's just really neat to put some faces to some of these names that you see, and actually see them in person.
Yeah,
and that's pretty cool. See how cool these people really are.
Gary Spikes, I know him personally. I've hung out with Gary before, and there's several in chat there that. Bigfoot Michigan Rob, I met him.
Who's that?
Rob's in here.
So Rob and I were kind of going back and forth a little bit today. He's a big Michigan Wolverine fan, and I'm an adopted Ohio State fan. And his team won, It was honestly, it was a terrible game, but yeah, it was somebody had to win. So anyway, man, I forgot. I lost track of where I was going with this.
You're talking about meeting the friends in chat.
I had something before that too. I do this to myself sometime. I just, kind of.
It comes with age, Paul.
I
know. Come with little Patty. Go Chiefs.
Oh, that's cool. School Vikings. I'm a Minnesota transplant up here, so
gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm kind of getting a little tired of the Chiefs.
Yeah,
might be an unpopular opinion, but I'm hoping that Detroit wins, and I'm not just saying that because BMR's in here.
I would agree with you. They're the underdog.
Yeah, I would like to see Detroit.
Yeah,
have a decent run again. So
yeah,
Blood Moon is moon at noon.
Yep.
So
hello,
Life with Bobby. So. And Michelle's here. How you doing, Michelle?
Bobby said skull. Yay.
So, Brent, when you what was one of the first instances that you had where you things were real to you, like UFO encounter, Bigfoot encounter, ghost encounter? What was your big moment that you realized, things were real?
I've always believed in all of it, honestly. I hadn't for the longest time seen a UFO until I saw a UFO, and then it's like, rather than a belief, it just became, the old saying, if you've seen it, you move into a knower, and that's definitely the truth. I always had an open mind for the UFO thing, but then came the day I actually saw a flying saucer, and that was just like, and the same with with Bigfoot. I can't say for sure I had a Bigfoot encounter because I never saw it, but I'm pretty sure I had a Bigfoot encounter. And that was probably the earliest one was when I was 14. And that was before I really even had a point of reference for it, because I knew there was Bigfoot, but I knew it was in the Pacific Northwest because that's what Leonard Nimoy told me on In Search of. And then much, much, much later, as an adult, I started to realize, this is a way bigger phenomenon than the Pacific Northwest. This is, this is global. So that was a game changer for me, but it did help me to understand what I had experienced as a 14-year-old kid that I had no concept of what to do with. I just didn't know what the hell was going on, but everything just stood on its head for me. And so I've got experiences with all of those things, but every one of them was just like, all your head blows up. It's like, oh my God. And the UFO one wasn't terrifying. It was just so powerful. The Bigfoot one was absolutely terrifying. I thought that whatever was making that sound was going to kill me. I thought I was just moments away from dying. The ghost stuff, I don't know. It's never been terrifying for me in that, and I'm not saying it couldn't be, but my experience have always been more benign. Like, hey, we're here, hey, you can't see us, but we're here. And they make themselves known. So to me, that was never a terrifying thing. It was more just like a desire to be acknowledged kind of thing was the way I took it, for my haunting experiences. So I don't know. Those are, three big areas, but, all of them I've had experiences in, and some several.
So real quick, was your Bigfoot encounter in Idaho?
No, it was actually back in Minnesota, and I lived in the southeast part of the state in a town called Red Wing. And as a 14-year-old young man, we lived out in the rural area, and it was right along the Mississippi River on the widest part of the river. It's called Lake Pepin. So it's the widest point of the entire Mississippi River. The river basically opens into this basin for about, several, like 40 miles or so. And so they call that Lake Pepin. And right behind my house, so we're living right on the banks of the river. And behind our house is a state forest with a bluff that's called Rattlesnake Bluff. Well, I grew up out in the sticks. So all we had to do, for entertainment was to play in the woods. I mean, that's where we were. And so there wasn't really any kids around for the most part. Most of the houses in that area at that time, it's changed much since then.
Mhm.
But at that time, they were just summer cottages. So this was the summertime, so there were people around, and my friend had come to visit his great uncle at his house, and he and I got to be close over the years just because he was like the only kid kind of my age that I could play with. And so we would always hike up on this Rattlesnake Bluff and go through the state forest and just hike around. And we got up on top of the bluff one summer day. He was 15, I was 14. And we got up in there and we're hiking around, and then we're like, oh, it's getting late, we better head back. And so we start working our way back down, and most of it's really pretty basic, as far as just hiking through the woods. But the path we went was through this ravine, this dried up ravine. It's kind of a spring melt off, so it's eroded this basically like a creek bed with waterfalls all the way down to the river, but it was dry at this time. So we're working our way down, and we kind of stopped to take a rest and plot our course down the rest of this ravine. And as we're standing there, suddenly, and it just came out of nowhere, because it's not like these are real dark, deep woods. It's an old forest, so you can see a ways off in every direction. We saw nothing, but we stopped, and like right behind us, maybe within 20 feet, maybe even more, but it felt like it was right behind us and taller than us, a lot taller, was this deep rumbling growl. And it was so profoundly deep and ferocious, and it was literally vibrating my body. And I grew up in these woods. I'd been up in there my whole life. And the biggest thing we have is white-tailed deer. Everything else is like raccoons, fox, maybe the occasional coyote, but nothing that was this big. This sound was huge, like it was coming from like King Kong. I didn't know. I just knew, my God, this is horrifying. And we were just standing there. It was right behind us, and we both froze. And you always hear people saying, I couldn't move. I just could not move. Well, I could have moved. It's just I didn't dare move, because whatever was making that sound to me was going to kill me. I mean, it was about to kill me, and I didn't want to do anything to provoke it in any way. So you just stand still and you go statue, and we're just standing there, and it's just growling and growling. And finally I said to him, well, what the hell is that? He said, I don't know, but we got to get the hell out of here. And they say, don't run, don't run, because you might trigger a prey response. But you've got two options, fight or flight. And whatever that was not in my fight category. And I've said this, in many interviews, but it's still absolutely true. It was like whatever was making that sound was way too scary for me to even consider. So we did the only thing we could. We ran. And
out of there.
Right. And whatever it was never followed. It never followed us. And we ran all the way down that hill, the rest of the hill. How we did it without breaking our necks, I don't know, but we did it. And it didn't follow. And we just pretty much just ran to our houses. And I don't think we ever talked about it again, but I told my mom about it. She's like, wow, I don't know what that could be. And I didn't have a reference point for this for all these years since then, until I started learning about Bigfoot. And then I started learning about signs people attribute to Bigfoot, like broken trees and structures and odd things like that, and weird noises in the woods. Well, I went back up into those woods in that area doing a product shoot for the company I was working for, promoting some survival gear and putting it, next to old logs and stuff and staging it and whatever. And then I just had the feeling like I needed to walk up higher. It was like this deep intuition, like, I got to go higher up on the hill. There's something I need to see. And so I was up there with my oldest son, who was, probably about 17 at that age, at that time. So he's just turned 30 yesterday now. So that gives you a little window, but we marched up that hill, and we found an old structure, and we found, I found this maple branch sapling. It was like a young branch from a maple tree, but all of the bark was peeled off, and it was still tacky to the touch. And I was like, what the hell did this? It was broken off on both ends, and it was about that thick. I don't know what that is, about 1.5 inches, from, side to side diameter. So it was a, significant size branch, but every bit of that wet green bark was peeled off. and it was still tacky to touch. So I was like, what the hell's going on here? And then I found a broken off tree that was broke off 4 feet up from the ground with no deadfall that had landed on it to knock it down. And this is a state forest, so it's not like people are going in and moving stuff around. It's, preserve. And then it just dawned on me, oh my God, maybe what I heard all those years back was that. And there's only one time I heard a sound that approximated that, and this is before this whole journey up into the hill. And that was when I went to the Jurassic Park movie when that first came out. And it was that part where those kids are they're in that broken down vehicle next to the Tyrannosaurus, and the Tyrannosaurus breaks through, and then it comes down right to their eye level with that, and it was just like, oh man, it just all came back to me. And that's what started me back on the quest. Like, what the hell was that? And so then I started learning. And so I believe I was close proximity to a Bigfoot. Now, I'd never even heard of Bigfoot growing up there, but since then, and in the years since, when people are talking about it more, I've heard of several close encounter claims in that same region. And so it's like, oh, well, yeah. So that was that experience.
Wow.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
You need to come back down to St. Louis. A couple weeks ago, Krista was at was it Emmaus Village?
The Emmaus Village.
Emmaus Village. I always pronounce that wrong. And it's real close to what she calls Dogman Road, and it's a huge village, haunted area. It's incredible. She had some great evidence, and you guys were just shooting something inside.
Just running a recorder, and we were just chit-chatting, running an EVP session. And we ended up capturing a howl.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, and we've been invited back to go and do like the cryptid side of things for them, like just kind of see if we can find any evidence and that kind of thing. So after the holidays, that's on our agenda.
Oh, very cool. Wow. Yeah, be careful though. Jeez.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Wow.
And that's just right here in St. Louis. And Pancho Zorch had something. Was it down?
This was down in Greenville, though.
Greenville, down in Greenville.
Well,
there was a Dogman, or was a Dogman sighting by underneath the arch?
Yep, St. Louis Arch, that's downtown St. Louis.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be out in the middle of nowhere. Same thing. Like there's several. You've heard there in Michigan. Where people have had Dogman encounters in Detroit, and like Matt M, I think his was in like Youngstown, Ohio, right in town. So,
yeah.
Very,
very interesting. Interesting.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is. These creatures can be anywhere.
Oh,
the weird part is that more of these urban encounters are getting reported than ever before. And I don't know if there's more and more of them that are just moving in, on the fringes of our society, just because it's the low-hanging fruit. Like they can come and dive dumpsters and get their fill, rather than going around and trying to chase down a deer or something. Maybe it's the path of least resistance. So that's
for sure.
Why do you think there's more reportings nowadays?
I've wondered that very thing. I wondered, well, is there more of it going on than ever before? But I think it's probably more likely, like this stuff has always been going on, but people haven't had the avenue to discuss it. How long were these things buried in families? Like, don't tell anybody about this, don't mention it, because of the social stigma attached to it. It's like, oh, really? You saw a big wolf, did you? It was walking. Yeah. And then you become a social pariah of sorts. So I think that honestly, and I really attribute it to shows like yours and so many others out there, and my own, that where we are promoting the discussion that's never happened before. And I mean, just think about it in terms of Bigfoot. Before, Bigfoot was like, oh yeah, okay, you saw Bigfoot, and now you drive around and you see Bigfoot stickers on cars and stuff. Like it's kind of almost as common as the stick figure families. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, there's Bigfoot enthusiasts everywhere, and now people can openly discuss it, or at least discuss it more openly than ever before. And so that's why I think, how many generations of stories were never told because people couldn't tell them without risking their reputation, which was everything. and is everything for a lot of people still.
Yeah.
So now it's like, well, yeah, I mean, there's weird stuff out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think that people just have the venue and the the opportunity to discuss now more than ever before.
Yeah. And shows like ours and so many other ones, I mean, it's a safe place. I mean, no one's going to pick on you or call you names for saying what you saw,
Right.
or certainly discredit you for what you saw. I mean, we will all listen.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah.
Yep. That's our philosophy. We weren't there, so who am I to judge that it happened or didn't? I mean, I've seen some pretty crazy things in my lifetime too. People be like, "Are you?" Yeah, right. But it's true. I saw it.
Sure.
So
yeah, absolutely. And I think also by virtue of people being able to turn on shows like this, hear people's reports, hear what they've been through, that it's also both healing and empowering for them to then want to come forward and share it. Or maybe they don't. Maybe they just listen knowing, hey, I'm not alone. Well, that's cool. Because I think when this stuff happens, people are in a bubble of, oh my God, I've been confronted with this other world of possibility and I can't do anything with it. I'm stuck with it. And they feel absolutely isolated in it. So now people can talk and they can hear people talking about it. And I think that process is very healing and cathartic for people, even if they don't share their own experience. They just know they're not alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, Don. Yeah, exactly. Now, let me ask you, do you think the Bigfoot and UFO could be connected?
I don't know personally. I mean, it's all speculative, right? Because who can know any of this stuff? I mean, we just don't know what's going on with any of it. But I think that people jump to conclusions because one thing happened and then another thing happened, so they must be together. And here's the thing we know about Bigfoot. Bigfoot is an exceptionally curious being. They'll come and peek in people's windows. They'll come into campsites to look around. They are incredibly inquisitive and want to see what's going on in their neighborhood. And what happens with people when UFOs are reported? They go out and they look at the sky. And I think that probably what happens is that Bigfoot sees the lights just like we do, and they're like, "Hey, what's going on in the sky?" And maybe they're kind of get out of character. Maybe they get more careless, and then people see them, and so they think, "Well, the lights and now Bigfoot, they must be together." And I just don't think there's near enough information to jump to conclusions like that. A lot of people do, and that's fine. I can't refute it, but I also can't promote it because what do we know about them? We know almost nothing. And so what we do know is that they're incredibly curious. They're incredibly intrigued by what they don't see all the time. And they'll come and look at it. They look in people's windows. They watch TVs and see these magical boxes. So, I mean, it plays completely into their character that they would see the lights in the sky or the weird craft and go, hey, what's that? And be mesmerized by it just like we are. So,
I was diehard flesh and blood, for Bigfoot. That's what they were. They were just some unknown ape, blah, 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 blah. Until I actually had a Bigfoot encounter. It was last year in southern Missouri. Brandy and I both did. Brandy actually saw it. I saw the moon, the way the moon was shining. I saw the shadow of it on the outside of the tent. But Brandy actually had a visual. And honestly, there was nothing not flesh and blood with that encounter. It was 100%. We could hear it, see it, the whole 9 yards. So, however, I've been to like the Land Between the Lakes multiple times, and I saw, with Brandy, we've saw orbs out in the middle of the woods when there's nobody out there. And then right before we saw the orbs, she saw some eye shine too, peeking around a tree. And then, we're seeing these orbs and then we've seen that multiple times. And so my way of thinking has changed because number one, what was that eye shine? And number two, what are these orbs out there? I mean, are they these creatures? Are they ghosts? Because I mean, it's the Land Between the Lakes. There are 237 cemeteries out there, but we weren't around a cemetery, So I mean, it's just, what are your thoughts on like orbs and things like that?
I've seen with my own eyes 2 orbs in my own homes, but none of these were big. Like a lot of the orbs that are reported are like softball, grapefruit, sized orbs drifting through the forest and stuff. The ones that I saw were literally about the size of a 50-cent piece, and I saw it on 2 occasions. And the first of those occasions was, God, back in the early 90s. I was with my ex-wife and I were living in this house. It was brand new, but it had a lot of weird stuff happening there. And I worked nights, but I was off this night, and I decided, well, I'm just, I usually kept my schedule even on my off nights, because transitioning days to nights to days for me was a nightmare. So my wife went to bed, and I was just sitting in the living room on the floor and watching my television. And suddenly, and I was a smoker at this time, so I was smoking. And suddenly this little golden ball of light just kind of comes into my field of vision about 2 feet in front of my eyes and slowly drifts by in front of me. And it looked like a little sun. I mean, that's the best way I can approximate it. It was like this glowing ball of light. It wasn't like radiating bright light or anything. It was just glowing ball of light, golden color, drifting slowly by in front of me. And I didn't really even know about orbs back then. This is so long ago, but I was looking at it going, what's that? Wow. And this is all self-dialogue. And I'm like, should I grab that? I could grab that. And then I thought, no, I should not grab that. And
probably not a good idea.
Right. It just continued by and then just kind of zipped out of sight and was gone. Now, I don't know. I assumed it was maybe part of the weird stuff that was going on in the house, maybe a spiritual representation, but I really knew nothing about orbs. Now, the second time that I saw an orb with my own eyes is in this house, where a lot of weird things happened. One morning I woke up and it was about 6:30 or 7 in the morning, and I'm stumbling into the kitchen to get the coffee going, because that's like the first part of every day. And I walk into the kitchen, and my kitchen's kind of like you walk into it and then there's an L shape. Well, I'm looking kind of down at the ground because I'm like, just getting my bearings and stuff. And suddenly one of those gold balls of light comes around the cabinet in front of me and then shoots right up to me and then zooms around me and is gone. And I'm like, oh, wow, that was my second time seeing them. So those are both possibly spirit representations. Now, of course, the term orbs is such an ambiguous term because it could represent several different phenomena, whether it's UFO phenomena, the orb lights, which are probably about the size of a car or something around there, or even I don't know, watermelon size for some of them. But then there's the spirit orbs, then there's the maybe something else orbs, and so it's hard to say. But I think that when we're presented with multiple phenomena, we have a tendency to just amalgamate them into one thing. And I don't think that we could know enough to say, look, that is definitely Bigfoot turning into that orb. Sure. It could be. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I just always caution that, is it, do we have enough information to really make those assumptions? And it might be, it might not be, but I don't know. Now, I do believe that there is another part of Bigfoot that we don't understand. But what I do believe is that they are, at least most of the time, in our experiences with them, physical beings. They leave footprints. They observed eating. They break things. They throw stones. They do very physical things. They leave hair samples. They've been known to step on things and bleed. So that is indicative of a physical being. There's a body impression casting from somewhere in the, I don't know where it was taken. It's very famous of this Bigfoot laying on its side, reaching and grabbing. Well, it left an impression of its entire profile in the mud, and that was casted or something to that matter. But so we can be pretty sure that at least they are part of the time physical, but are they also something else?
Yeah. What color were the orbs that you saw?
Gold color, both of them.
Gold.
Like a golden radiant light. Yep.
Yeah. So the first one that I ever saw was actually at a haunted location, and it was a blue colored. Now, the ones at the LBL, the first time I saw, it was big. It was like the size of a beach ball, and it was a reddish orangish. Wow. And then since then, I've saw like gold ones, white ones.
Oh.
there too. So it's just, I don't know. It's just weird. I don't know if the colors might have, something to do with it, or I don't know.
Or the sizes of them might indicate what they are. I mean, there's the whole term ghost is really kind of a misnomer, though, because it's just this blanket term that covers any number of varied phenomena into one, because we experience these other creatures in a non-physical, energetic kind of way. So we just say, well, that's ghost. Well, when you tell somebody ghost, automatically their mind goes to, well, it was a person, and now it's a person that's passed on without a body. So that's just what it is. And it might be any number of things. It could be elementals. It could be, other primeval forces that we don't. It could be transdimensionals, could be things that were never human. It could be things that live just out of phase with us in our own reality, maybe a frequency or vibrational separation, but they can be present in our experience, but not largely in a very material way. So we experience these things, and so are these different orbs representative of these different types of what we understand as spiritual beings? Maybe they're extraterrestrial. Maybe these extraterrestrial, extra-dimensional things can manifest themselves as balls of energy or plasma or something of that sort.
Sure.
And, there's just so many questions involved with all of it.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Your excuse.
Had a little tickle there for a second. I mean, that's very interesting. The orb in your house. And like you said, it could have been a Bigfoot in your house. Good thing it didn't materialize into a Bigfoot. It could have been.
But see, on stuff like that, though, I don't believe like it was a Bigfoot, like the same one I've seen at a haunted location inside a building. I believe it was some sort of spirit, ghost or something for me. Now, the ones at the LBL, I don't know what that was.
Right. I will say that I think it was on Sasquatch Chronicles years ago. Wes was I think he was talking to somebody who was sharing, or Wes was sharing an experience of him talking to some pretty well-known researchers. And I don't remember that he named them, but he said, these are well-known people that are in the community doing Bigfoot research and doing, really serious Bigfoot research. And they had apparently talked to Wes about their experience going out into this area. I think it was around Mount Shasta or somewhere in that area. And they were out there with their flashlights looking around, and suddenly they saw these two balls of light come out. And they're like, whoa, what's that? And they were kind of in the path ahead of them and coming towards them slowly. So they took their flashlights up and shined it on these things. Or wait, they heard creatures one way or the other, and I don't remember. I'm transposing it now. But either when they shined their flashlights on it, it became a ball again and started drifting around. But when the flashlight was down, they could make out this humanoid small figure that looked kind of like a goblin thing or something like that. And every time they shone their light, so they basically just stayed up all night watching for those things and shining light on them and not letting them manifest. Something about the flashlights caused them return to that orb state. So I don't know.
Well, you know what I find interesting? Greg Ogles is in chat, and he had actually he had saw orbs out in the woods, and he actually communicated with it. It was intelligent, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. And that's kind of, I do some paranormal investigating as well, looking into haunted areas. In fact, I'm going on the 7th of December now to go to another place. It's a haunted bar near here. But I really am excited.
Bar or barn?
Bar, like a pub. Yeah. The owners of the pub are friends with my research partner, and so they're helping to set it up. But the interesting thing is that I think the ability to communicate is always so amazing and exciting to me, because what could we learn if we could establish some manner of communication that was at least somewhat stable or whatever. So I love doing this. I love going out there looking and trying to make a connection. And like I've referred to, and I believe some of these were people. Some of these were people that for whatever reason remain earthbound, and it's any number of reasons that could be, but they're still in the earth plane. Maybe they're not ready to work through whatever's left, or they're trying to work through it, or maybe they're not ready to face what they might consider a judgment or whatever. So they might stick around, but still what could we learn from their experience? Now, again, we don't understand much of them, and like we utilize tools that are oftentimes not really meant for what we're using it for. Like EM detectors are not necessarily meant to be looking for ghosts, but whatever ghosts are, and I would argue that they're not composed of electromagnetic energy. I don't think that that's true, but I think whatever energy they are has a definite impact on the electromagnetic spectrum around us. And so we detect them one step removed. We don't understand the energy that they are, but we can see that energy's influence in our world, and it detects on an EM detector because we can see spikes and anomalies in that sense. Because if ghosts really were electromagnetic, we could probably make their life hell just by hanging magnets all over the place, right?
Right.
And that clearly doesn't work, So,
Right.
yeah.
Then you would probably get some really demonic hauntings.
True.
Yeah.
Very
Do that
true.
to me, I'm gonna do this. Yeah. So I mean, you mentioned ghost investigations. What are some of the places that you've been, good or bad?
I've investigated St. Ignatius, which is a defunct hospital. It's been many things. It's been a hospital. It's been an asylum. It's been an old people's home, and everything in
I
between.
think it's been on TV shows too, hasn't it? A lot of the big ones.
Yeah, that's over in Washington State. It's a really cool place. And while we were investigating there, we were staying in a haunted Airbnb. And I'm here to tell you, the haunted Airbnb was way more active than St. Ignatius was. But I've investigated there. I've investigated this bar that we're going to before 2 times before this. And where else? I've been investigated a ghost town over in Montana, a house that was really cool. That was really creepy.
Wow.
We're up on the top of a mountain, and there's not really any standing structures anymore. Most of the old cabins are all caved in and stuff. And when you're alone on a mountaintop, miles away from anybody, all by yourselves in the forest with only little flashlight and the light on a pickup truck bed, that was the only light we have. We're up in the mountains of Montana, and I'm here to tell you, the world closes in, and you feel like you're in an amphitheater of terror.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So just a few that I've investigated: the Davenport Hotel in Spokane, Washington, and the Montvale Hotel. Both of those are very haunted locations.
So is it safe to say, since you're coming to the conference and there is a ghost hunt that Saturday evening after, that you'll be one of the ones in there ghost hunting with us? Okay.
Absolutely. You won't be able to drag me out of that deal.
Okay.
So the last time we were there, what was that? October 26th or something like that. It was off the charts crazy.
Cool.
We had great, great sounds, great. What was that strip that was going off that Brandy had? Where
I think Terry had that. Yeah.
Oh, it was Terry's. Yeah. The ghost helmet was there. Or the God helmet was there. It was just an incredible night of great evidence.
Yeah, it was.
So yeah, you're gonna really like going there. You're gonna like that.
Yeah.
Place.
I'm already excited. I just can't wait. Yeah.
And really, the whole museum on a whole isn't terrible, but when you get up into this one hallway, you feel it the second you cross over that threshold into the hallway. It's a completely different vibe down that hallway, and that's where I got
we've had a lot of things happen in that hallway. Some that wasn't so nice.
Well, it sounds like
that section is filled with mannequins that that mannequins alone in the dark would scare the crap out of you.
So the museum is actually 53 rooms of each room is different themed. So so like there's everything from a grandma's kitchen to Civil War.
Wow, that's fantastic. That sounds exciting.
So there's a lot of items that are haunted there too. They have a lot of attachments and things like that too. And Greg Ogles, my butt was touched in that hallway. He was there that night with us.
Yep. Yep.
They need loving too, Greg.
Yep. So I think you'll have a good time up there with us.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah,
definitely.
loving it.
Yeah.
So, and a reminder, that is September 20th next year.
Yep. And
the
we're
Ghost
selling
Hunt
very
starts at-
few tickets for that.
Yes.
Now, how
Ghost
many
Hunts-
people do you expect to be there for that? I'm just curious.
So just for the ghost hunt alone, we usually sell, when we sell ghost hunt tickets, we usually do anywhere from 30 to 40 there at the museum. We are
Mhm.
only going to sell 16 because there's, so far all the celebrity speakers are going to come and ghost hunt. So like anybody who buys tickets gets to ghost hunt with you.
I can bring some of my gear too, and
Yeah, whatever you want to bring.
Wait, yeah.
fantastic.
And then our friend Terry, she was in chat. She actually has the God's helmet.
Mhm.
And so she's running the ghost hunt portion for us. As known her a long time, and she does a lot of events. But she's going to do that portion, and I'll be sweet talking her into bringing the God's helmet again that weekend.
That's cool. Yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah,
There's
so,
the website for Ray County Museum.
yeah,
Really cool place. Really cool place.
yeah. Even if you're not into ghosts, it's just the history alone is just fantastic.
Yeah.
Sure. Oh, that's fantastic. The whole thing sounds very exciting.
Yeah, it is. It's a great place.
I'm super
sure.
excited about it. I can't wait. And it's going to go by so fast.
Mhm.
So getting to it. I hope the conference kind of slows things down.
There you go. Terry just said, "I will bring the helmet for you, Brent."
Oh, thank you, Terry. That's awesome.
Oh,
You say that's awesome, but you haven't put it on yet.
yeah.
I'll just probably turn into mega mind after I pull it off. Like,
You see some funny things, some things that are like, wow.
yeah, I've heard of that helmet before. I think if it's the same one I'm thinking of, my friend Dan Pruitt is friends with the gentleman who invented that. I think,
Mhm.
Unless it's a different God helmet, but that's really
Mhm.
really.
Yeah.
Doesn't it like realign your brain waves into like a
Yeah, and it's lights that are flashing in your eyes and all that good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty neat. And Greg wore it. He actually saw aliens, and he's not
Yeah.
the first one to have seen aliens wearing that helmet, which I
Wow.
find really interesting.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very
Mhm.
cool.
And hers was
Yeah.
built by
Katie Stafford.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Katie Stafford. I think that's the person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My friend Dan is good friends with Katie Stafford, I think. Yep.
Mhm.
Doesn't he do development for like some TV shows as well? Katie Stafford.
Yeah, he's been in a lot of TV shows. Goes to Morgan City. He's actually in the Kansas City area too. So I was going to give a shout out to him and his wife to invite them over for the conference.
Oh, that'd be cool. If they were there, I'd say hello.
Yeah, they do. They usually do show up to our conferences always.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. This will be great.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Definitely. See there again. I was going to say something I completely lost.
Must not have been that important.
Probably not. Probably not. It was going to be about the museum. Oh, when Terry when she had it on in the basement, she was looking. I mean, I guess you could see through walls into another room, and saw a spirit watching actual people out in the hallway, and it looked like the spirit was almost trying to interact with those people.
Oh,
So that was
neat.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Maybe that's the one that got a hold of Greg.
Maybe.
I haven't met you, Greg, but I hope you're there. It'd be neat to see you.
He'll be there. He's one of our speakers.
He'll be
Oh,
there.
fantastic.
Yeah, he's Relic Films. If you haven't seen his films, The Legend of the Downy Booger, look it up on Tubi. It's great.
That's out, and then he has a new one coming out. What's the name of it?
Cryptic Expeditions, Land Between the Lakes.
That's coming out. Sorry, Greg. The trailers that I've seen for that is amazing.
Cool.
And that's coming out January 4th. Yes.
In Alabama. He's got the premiere in Alabama.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's going to be amazing. Make sure that you look out for that. I believe he said you can get live stream it on YouTube. I
Oh,
believe.
nice. Okay.
Yeah. But definitely the Legend of Downy Booger, it is out now and it's worth a watch.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and he says the content on this new movie blows the other one away. So
It truly does.
yeah,
It really does.
so make sure you get that. Make sure you check that out. So,
Yeah.
There we go again.
You get a brain fart.
Yeah. No.
That's not your brain, Paul.
That's no. So, and I think I might have asked you this, Brent, but if there is one place that you would like to investigate that you haven't, and money was no object getting there, where would you go?
You know, I here's the thing, and this is my own personal theory. I don't know if it's accurate or not, but I would like to investigate anywhere. And the reason that, you know, I have, of course, the bucket list places like the Sally House and Penhurst, and
You don't want the Sally House. We can talk about that off camera.
Okay, gotcha. But just there's so many places, but I in my own personal experiences, the lesser known places to me have always been more active. And I think there might be some metric to that, like a place where tons of people are constantly coming through and investigating. I think I don't think the presences probably go anywhere. It's just that they're less likely to get, you know, to engage because they got to do this all the time, or they got people coming through all the time. And I think they just get played out. And I'll tell you, one of the greatest investigation techniques that we've found is not to walk into some place, sit down, and goes, anyone here that like to talk to us? Who are you? Do you know you're dead? What year is it? You know, the canned questions. The most activity we get is when Charles and I sit down and we'll just start talking about something paranormal. And we'll just start a discussion. We'll have things out like a REM pod or a flashlight or whatever. And suddenly something starts chiming in and then responding intelligently when you bring them into the conversation. And so, like I said, you know, St. Ignatius was amazing. It was a cool place, but almost very, very little activity, if any. But the Airbnb was off the charts. It was just crazy. So I think that there's got to be a correlation between how much investigative traffic a place gets and how much interaction you get, because you got to really come from a whole different angle to get those entities or spirits to engage that are in those heavily trafficked places. Because it's like, oh, here comes some more, you know?
Yeah. You know, you remind me of kind of how Brandy and I investigate too, because we don't ask your typical questions either. We'll say like, do you like peanut butter and jelly? Or, you know, like, or if we know it's a female spirit, you know, heels or flats, or dress or pants, you know, sometimes then you can figure out like time periods just by asking them questions like that. And you'd be surprised you get answers. Like we were at Malvern Manor and we were holding an event there, and we were all sitting in the main room, and we just everyone went around and said their favorite kind of cookie. Well, we got an EVP off of that.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's just simple things like that, you know, like you said, you know, what year is it, or how did you die, or, you know, we don't do that either.
Well, just imagine, I mean, you're a spirit. You're, for whatever reason, if you were formerly human or whatever, you're occupying this space. And all of these strange spaces come in. Like you're in your living room watching TV, and about 5 people come in and start telling you to rearrange the furniture and to turn the light off, turn it on, change the channel and stuff. You're going to be like, get the hell out of here. What are you doing? You know, I mean, it's going to piss you off. And so I think in many cases, just making conversation like you're talking about, that's brilliant. That's exactly what we found too. And it creates an atmosphere where it's like, oh, I want to get on in this. I got an opinion, and they want to engage. And I think that's the big key.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And it could be this too, that they might not know that they're dead.
Well, either that or it's, you know, they're not dead, and you're working with a time dilation or something like that, where you're actually, there's, you know, certain times, certain spaces, certain, I don't understand the mechanics of it, but there's plenty of instances where we very well might be the ghost to them and they're the ghost to us, you know, like there's something going on there where they're like, hey, what's this? And we're like, hey, what's this? So, you know, there's any number of mechanics at work in any of these situations for whatever number of reasons. I don't mean to be ambiguous, but I mean, if we're going to be honest, we just don't know much of what's going on here. But we just keep trying to learn, you know?
And that's what all these shows are about. I mean, that's what we're trying to do. Learn from the great beyond or wherever these
Right.
spirits, creatures, beings are from.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I got a question for you. I've done the paranormal a long time too, and we've encountered some not so nice entities. Have you?
Yeah, I have, but not really on investigations in my own life. Yes, yeah, I've encountered things that were really not nice. It would take too long to go into a real explanation of what that was, but it was something horrible, and it was a problem for me for many years. And I finally got clear of it, but it was terrifying, in many ways. But I think there's always, if indeed these are formerly living people, there always are going to be the get off my lawn guys, the ones that are like, there's the codgety old man, like, get off my lawn, and territorial in that respect. And, there's spectrums of people. Like there's the people that would bend over backwards and give you the shirt off their back. And then there's the other people that'd rather punch you than say hello, and I think the same is true in the spirit world.
Right.
So,
Yep.
Here comes your cat for an appearance.
Yeah, she's sitting up here by me. You'll probably see her face here in a minute.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
Real quick, Brent, I know you got to go get ready for your show, but we have one question on here. Riley Ron asks, any difference between a ghost and a spirit?
In my opinion, again, ghost is such an ambiguous term, but generally if there's a distinction, I think that most people make in that, and this is just my perspective of it, but a ghost is generally an untransitioned human, like maybe bound to the earth plane, and a spirit might have transitioned and might still make themselves known. I see your cat's ear, that's cute.
Yeah.
but I just don't think that we know exactly what we're dealing with, even to try to differentiate, well, this is a formerly human, this is transdimensional, there's a shadow person, which were never people in many cases, and so et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I mean, sure, there most people do make that a distinction between the two, but honestly, we know so little that they may be one and the same or interchangeable.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Very awesome. Brent, this has been fantastic. Thank you for coming back on here on the show with me again, me and Krista again.
It's my pleasure. And it's nice to meet you, Krista. I appreciate to know that and to nail my place at your conference. That'll be fun. And a special thanks to Kimber in the chat. She sent me an email. she's been corresponding with me on the side here. So.
Look out.
Yeah, she's sending me some tips. So thank you, Kimber. I appreciate that.
There you go.
Yeah, she has some pretty interesting experiences in her own house that are kind of crazy.
I would love to talk to you, Kimber. If you want to be a guest on the podcast, please let me know.
Yeah,
you got the email. So
that's right. That's right. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you guys for coming out here, and one quick thank you to T-Bone for gifting 5 new paranormal memberships. Appreciate you, T-Bone, for doing that. Also, Brent, thank you so much, and looking forward to meeting you in person in September next year. So make sure that you guys get your tickets. Tonight, the link goes live on Eventbrite. Just look up Blondes and Booze, correct?
Yeah, it's under Blondes and Booze.
Blondes and Booze. So make sure that you.
But it's being put on though. It's only because Blondes and Booze had an Eventbrite account, but it's being put on by Paul, Tex, BMR, Donnie Cho, Monica Rollins, Danielle Diva.
Will they all be there?
Yeah, they're all going to be there. We're all going to be there. The whole crew will be there. Yeah. So it's all of us. Randy Gilbert too. Brandy, So yep.
Is there karaoke involved in any of this?
If you come the Thursday night before, there might be.
There might be. I like that twang. She went into twang. That was awesome.
If Tex is around, then yes, there will be karaoke. Yeah.
Very good.
All right, guys. Everybody have a great night. Make sure that you check out Paranormal Portal. They come on at 9:00 Central, 7:00 over in the Pacific. So
yeah,
everybody have a great rest of your week. And we will see you guys. I always do this. I'm never ready to close the show. I never want to close the show. So anyway, everybody have a great night. Thank you guys for showing up. Appreciate y'all.
Good night,
Y'all,
everybody.
I'm from the South.